there that is expected to bring icy conditions over the weekend.
The advice tonight is get ready now so that when you go home Saturday night, you can stay there the rest of the weekend.
Also keep an emergency kit handy. That's always a good idea, including
a brisket. It's that time of the year in Houston on Arctic Blast. And if you know Houston traffic, you know I would much rather stay home, enjoy the cold weather, and pick up a brisket and fire up the smoker. Hey there, welcome back to the Meat Thinker channel. It's been a really long time since I've smoked a brisket, and this felt like the perfect occasion. During this cook, I also tackled 3 side quests while the brisket was smoking, and I want to share those with you, so let's get to it. I went to HEB for this brisket because Costco hasn't had the best selection lately. HEB had plenty of options, and I ended up choosing the super trim brisket. The decal fat and mohawk were already removed, and the fat cap was trimmed down to the point where it didn't need much work at all. There was one nasty gash on the bottom of the point, but I didn't think it would affect the cook too much. I rounded off the edge of the flat, wiped away any excess moisture, and the brisket was ready for seasoning. Next, I replenished my brisket rub, 2 parts coarse black pepper and 1 part kosher salt. After that, I lightly coated the entire brisket with garlic powder. I set the brisket aside and gave it some time for the salt to absorb into the meat while I started the fire. As always, I begin with lump charcoal, piping hot to build a solid coal base. And then I throw in 2 large splits to get the fire going and bring the smoker up to temperature. Once the smoker was running above 230 on the stack side, I placed the brisket in with the flat facing the stack. While the brisket was cooking, let's talk about the side quests. Side quest number 1, Chef Snack. One downside of buying a super trim brisket is that there aren't many scraps left for a chef snack. I only had 3 small pieces of trim, but hey, it's still something. I lightly seasoned them with salt and pepper and tossed them on the grate. After a couple hours, they were ready to eat. Side quest number 2, re-seasoning the smoker. Before the cook, I noticed some small rust spots on the backside of the firebox. So I grabbed a can of Pam and went to work, spraying the rust spots and the surrounding areas. You can hear that satisfying sizzle as the oil hits the hot metal. This helps re-season the smoker and prevents the rust from spreading. Side quest number 3, Firebox Potatoes. One thing I love about the Brazo smoker is the grill grate built into the firebox. I decided to take advantage of it and bake some potatoes. I wrapped them in foil, placed them on the grate, and left them there for about 2 hours. 2 hours in, the potatoes were perfect. Split one open and you are greeted with the steamy, fluffy golden center. I added some butter, which melted instantly. Even with just butter, it was one of the best baked potatoes I've ever had. I highly recommend trying this. It makes an incredible snack. With this cook, I've also had some challenges. The cook was going smoothly until I noticed something unusual. I was burning through splits much faster than normal. With temperatures dropping below 32 degrees, anyone who lives outside of Texas knows it takes more fuel to maintain steady heat. I ended up adding full chimney of charcoal to the firebox twice during the cook. And some people recommend using welder's blanket to help retain heat, and that is definitely a lesson learned for next time. At the 6-hour mark, the bark was forming beautifully, and there was a little pulling on the flat, but that was fine. I just tipped the brisket to drain it. At 12 hours in, the internal temperature was still sitting around 170 degrees. This cook was taking much longer than usual. The edge of the flat had curled slightly, but the fat was breaking down nicely. At this point, it was time for the foil boat. I used 2 layers of heavy-duty aluminum foil to support the weight of the brisket. Formed a foil boat and put it back in the smoker until it is finished. After 15 hours, the internal temperature finally hit 203. The bark looked fantastic, sitting in a pool of render fat. Pressing on the fat cap, it gave away easily, a great sign. And I let the brisket rest on the counter until it cooled down to about 170, then transferred it to the oven. I set the oven to its lowest setting, 170, and let the brisket continue resting. After about 4 hours of resting, my family was officially done waiting, so it was time to slice. Uncovering the foil, the brisket looked gorgeous. Lifting out of the foil boat, I could already tell this was going to be a solid brisket. I poured some render fat over the top to keep it moist and cut it open. The knife went straight through. I started with the flat end for a quick taste. One edge was a little crispy, but that was okay. The bite was slightly dry, but the flavor was still there, and I liked it. Moving toward the middle, the slices drooped over my finger. Check. The bark? Check. Good smoke ring? Check. And fat nicely rendered? Check.
Guys, you want some brisket?
Then it was time for my kids to try it. Boom! Instant approval. The burnt ends had a bit of crispiness around the edges, but they were still delicious. To wrap up, I would give this brisket an 8 out of 10. The seasoning was solid, the smoke flavor was on point, and it was definitely tender. The biggest issue was the edges getting a little too crispy. I'll need to work on a better trimming next time. And I am not so sure why I thought smoking a brisket on the coldest night of the year was a great idea, but I did learn a few things. Cold weather requires more fuel. Burning splits alone may not be enough. Adding more lit charcoal helps, and the cook takes a lot longer overall. And using welder's blanket would also help with the temperature retention, and that might be a future experiment. There you have it. Have you run out of firewood because you didn't figure the cold weather into account? Or have you used a welder's blanket to keep the temperature going and steady? Please share with us in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, check out my Instagram handle @MeatThinker. Thank you for watching and keep meat thinking.